Hello, my beautiful souls. You are listening to the Messy Human Tarot, and I am your host, Ruby Garnet. So, I'm going to be honest with you. For the most part, I'll get this inspiration to do a video, and I allow a pull to kind of like come over me and take me forward, and I try to listen to some of the messages that have happened throughout my day, and right before this pull, and there was a pull right, like, I remember the universe saying you need to focus on the light, and this wasn't a dream. A couple of times about this dark force, this energy kind of playing amok with other people, and often I was trying to have this focus away from negative thinking, and negative thinking would just bleed right into my brain, and I'd be like, oh my god, this is just ridiculous, like I'm really trying. And so, and then I remember when I was driving, I literally saw this license plate that was 2WIN22, and I'm not kidding you. So really what it was saying, what the universe is trying to say, to win at life, we have to have balance. But if you look at it, it's 3 2s, which is also too a message about magic, cooperation, divine timing, diving into the mystery of things. And for whatever reason, something's going in through my head, like this dark magician energy that is trying to manifest something against your higher will. And that's kind of a little disturbing, if I may say. So without any further ado, you are responsible for taking care of yourself and knowing the difference between your own sound judgment and following blindly. Because I'm not an LMHC, I'm not a doctor, financial, legal advisor, I'm only entertainment value. I'm not a replacement for good therapeutic services. With that said, though, I do believe in a higher source. I do believe in ghosts. I do believe in energy. I do believe in the power of manifestation, which is so funny because I'm a science nerd at the same time. And so very often in my life, I've looked for the science behind magic, and it's really comical, really. And recently I've been getting a lot of signs and synchronicities saying that everything is going to be okay. Very often we think a lot of bad things are going to happen, and we see that in our world. And there's this dark magician energy, I think, is kind of like a psychic broadcast that's trying to drown out our higher will, our higher good, and the messages that come from that, because it doesn't want you to know that things can and will be okay. It wants to convince you of something far more sinister and darker. It's almost like a brainwashing. And propaganda usually is, and we see that in the news. There's a lot of just scary stuff out there. And I remember, 818, I saw a license plate. Actually, it was 3818, and from what I recall, this is actually a really powerful angel number, specifically 8118. If you look at 808, it's about destiny, but if you look at the 1, you've taken a step towards your destiny. and you're making some forward progress. And a lot of my dreams lately have been about highways and struggling to focus on the highway, but doing it anyways, trying to navigate a very confusing world where you're not really exactly sure where you're going. So we don't necessarily know exactly where we're going or what we're doing, how we're going to get where we're going. With that said, like I said before, we're still trying. We're still actually doing something about it. We're still trying to have a focus. And that popped up a lot today about focusing on the light, focusing on this visual. So they want us to focus on a alternative positive direction. Like, how do you see your future? What are some positive things you're doing? Like, for instance, like, what, if you hear that in the background, it's just my dog. He is going to be a delightful source of light in this reading. But to think about that, like, very often we're so busy thinking about like how people are wronging us, what they're doing, how they're doing it. That's energy that we can be putting towards about our beautiful new lives. Like, if you're focusing, oh, like my new job's gonna have this and this, I'm gonna feel this way. So when you're energetically in that feeling state and knowing the details about that new lifestyle, we can have a better focus on which direction to go in. Even if we're going on the cedar paths, we don't know where we're going. We still don't know where we're going because we have to really embrace the unknown to get there. That's, for whatever reason, the universe has repeatedly been telling me to embrace the unknown. The unknown is going to keep you on track. I don't know why. And honestly, to me, that's maddening. But I really do believe there's no alternative, especially when the known right now isn't a very healthy anything. Like, again, like I said, this dark magician energy is trying to trick a mass majority of individuals to believe that there is no positive outcome, that the world is doomed, that we're all just going to suffer. And I think that's a fallacy. I do. I'm not saying that suffering does not exist. That is not what I'm talking about. But I think it's more like a crossroads. We can decide. We can decide how we feel and think and want. Something that I have on and off have experienced in my own life is that it's so easy to continue an unhealthy habit because we're used to it. And being used to something is part of the known. The unknown can be a new habit, a new way of life that could be good for you. But because it's so unknown, we're not used to it, we don't understand it, or alright, I'm sorry, I'm just kind of chuckling at my dog's ability to get attention. He is quite clever. He's really smart. I really actually have a lot of admiration for his intelligence. I look at him sometimes, I'm going like, how do we like create this really intelligent, I need talking buttons for this dog. I really do, because the only way he can express his wants and needs is through really interesting ways. Like, he wants attention, he wants to play, so he has his little squeaker and he's doing everything he can to get that attention from us. He's like, hey, I'm right here, don't you see me? Don't you see me? I'm communicating. communicating. We do that all the time. We want attention. And sometimes that's from boredom. Sometimes we just don't know what to do with ourselves. And that's kind of why it's so easy to lapse into that easy come, easy do, I know what to expect lifestyle, that negativity, or I'm going to be on my phone, or I'm going to blame other people, or I'm going to fixate on what they're doing wrong. And we don't look at ourselves, right? And I've been there. I do, actually, and I hate it when I do it myself, but something I'm really trying to explore is, like, instead of fixating on what other people are doing, I'm trying to focus on an alternative imagery of things going well, going right for me. Like, what are the people I want in my life? What do they look like? What do they feel like to me? What's some of the language they use? How do they look at me? Or even, what are some of their interests? What do we talk about? You know, something I've found really hard as a mom is finding a nanny that really resonates with me. And I had this awareness going, like, well, when I was first getting a nanny, I didn't really visualize. I just rushed in to find someone, right? I was just feeling so desperate, and my self-esteem was so low. Like, I didn't think I deserved a good nanny. And I put the bar down low. And that was my fault. That really was my fault. So really I kind of realized, well, okay, well, I really need to think about what are the qualities I'm looking for. How do they talk? How do they communicate? What do they do in my own home? And how do they interact with my son? Like, what am I hoping to expect between the interactions between my son and this potential new individual in his life? Like, something that's really important for me is memories. I want to hear him laughing, like, really loud. I want him to be like full belly laughter. He's also too super smart. Like, he loves, like, figuring things out, and he's like has really intense focus over things. So I need someone that's going to respect that. And these are qualities, like respect, right? Respect, a good sense of humor, someone's also too attentive, present, and engaged. These are qualities. And when you are interviewing someone, it's really important to ask them about these qualities. And if they are unable to respond in a way that satisfies you, then we can't say, oh, well, I'm just going to set the bar low. Or maybe they're just really nervous, or they couldn't answer that appropriately because, interviews are hard. If we set the bar low, of course we're not going to get what we want. And so it's really important as a mom, because I have to look out for my kiddo, is like, no, I don't need to have a low bar. I can have a healthy bar where it's realistic, but also to exactly where it needs to be, because it's my kid. It doesn't have to be so high and out of reach, but it can be on the high side. It could be like medium high. People can reach it, touch it with, they don't, maybe if they have to be on their tippy toes, but they can reach it, right? And I feel like we do that in our own lives. We set the bar low. And when you set the bar low for yourself, it creates a lot of problems, doesn't it? And the dark magician energy takes advantage of this, because they're like, oh, this person has a low bar. Oh, their self-esteem is low because their bar for themselves are low. They're not required to have confidence. They're not required to put themselves out there. They're not required to try new things. They're not required to have a healthy lifestyle. They're not. They're required. So if you give the dark energy, the dark magician energy, access to your psyche, because it's a broadcast energy, think about it. There's channels. You can turn the channel to something more harmonious, but you can only do that if you are actively changing the channel. Maybe you say, oops, I went back to that channel, but you can go, but now I'm gonna actually be attentive, present, and engaged, and turn back to that harmonious channel, because I have a higher bar for myself. I want to envision this new life. Like, for example, like for example, you're like, oh, I want to be at home doing, part-time remote work while I'm going out there, like I'm seeing clients and they're home. That's relevant. And if you see yourself like doing what I'm doing, which is you hear my voice, hear me talking, it's a blend of different things that I'm interested in, like the tarot, which down below is my email, I have email, I have Facebook. I have accessibility. You can reach out to me, you can talk to me, you can ask me about what my rates are. I can give you a flyer. But you know what else too I'm doing? I know this about myself. I know that I do really well working with families. I love working with families. So, for instance, like say that that you work really great mainly being a remote individual, or maybe you like the blend of the two, or you're just like, no, remote work's not for me. It's not good for me. Knowing what you want is so integral to that dream, to knowing how to get what you want. Because if we're setting the bar low, well, I'm going to accept this. I don't really want this. It doesn't really fit my lifestyle. And I can hear the energy of already got someone out there saying, well, easier said than done. And I understand it's really hard in the beginning because we have been kind of groomed at a young age by hearing other people's negative thinking and their voices out loud. We've heard it. We've heard it at a young age, so it's really ingrained with us. We learned that negative thinking happened, and we got really good at it. So untraining ourselves of negative thinking and believing, it takes time. It takes a lot of practice. It's like riding a bike. You didn't have the balance and the muscle and the fortitude and the power to ride a bike right away. Just look at swimming. That takes time. That takes muscle memory. Just look at so many things in the real world that take time and practice and keeping at something. If you want change, you do have to keep at it. And I know it's frustrating. It's so frustrating. And if you're wondering, what kind of tarot reader are you? What kind of tarot reader are you? Because this doesn't sound like the stereotypical stuff I should hear. Well, it's like, well, I'm a blend. I'm more of a guide, one who will highlight things, but light to it. The way I see the tarot is like it's almost like a map, and as an augur witch too, blending that in with it is like, it's like clues, and I have to kind of tune into what's going on and kind of like putting the pieces together, because there's so many pieces I have to pull together to create this message. And that's why the inspiration to these videos is so key, because if I'm not inspired, sometimes I'm really inspired, but I'm not inspired to share. I'll make videos. I have made videos, but I don't feel inspired to share them, so I don't. But I'm like, oh, well, that's interesting. Why? Why is that? And the divine source is like, well, you had to practice. I'm like, oh, okay. What do you mean by that? And they'll usually say, well, you have a certain style that we really want you to hone in on. We really do. We like what you have to say. We actually enjoy your style, the way you express your messages, but you need the confidence to back it up. And some of these messages were just, they're okay, they're good, they say enough, but they're not for the channel, basically. It's okay. That's totally okay, because practice is what is how we get to where we need to go. And sometimes we have to relearn lessons over and over and over and over and over and over again, especially when we have to learn discernment and intuition, especially when we have to kind of suss out what's us and this broadcast that's going on right now, because it's really heavy and dark and weighty, and it just feels really toxic and confusing, because sometimes you have a really good feeling in the morning. You feel like, oh, I'm on target, and then you accidentally tune in to the broadcast, and whatever's in that broadcast, sometimes it's like a tidal wave, you know, and it just crashes your boat into the ocean. And I've had a lot of dreams about water on and off, and about people being in trouble and really trying to get an escape from danger. And some people are breaking curses, which is one specific individual broke a curse recently from childhood. And I had a dream of, I don't know who the individual was, but I remember I saw them and they broke free, like right as I was dreaming it. And I knew they were doing okay. They're doing fine. And I think that sometimes it just happens. Something clicks in our brain. And when that happens, it's very empowering. Very empowering. So I do have to wrap up things, because I really don't feel the need for this to be a long message. But if you like anything you hear and see, please comment, like, or subscribe. But again, like, everything is that you need is available down below, whether it's for my doula services. I'm a family and transition support doula, which is basically I streamline parental strategies, education, skills, while knowing your own strengths, your interests, and getting a good sense of like what the natural environment is before I like say, oh, you should. No, it's basically I make sure the medicine fits the family, individuals, and children, because you know a lot more than people give you credit for. And as a intuitive psychic, these messages tend to be kind of like this sometimes, more often than not, where I don't always know what's going to be said, and then it's said, and I'm like, wow, I was caught really off guard by that. But feel free to reach out to me if you feel free. I will give you my rates, and we'll go from there. All right, may our meat blessed be, amen, to good health, and adios until the next time. This is Messy Human Tarot.